You can support this podcast and get shows early and ad-free, as well as bonus episodes over at patreon.com/flashback64. Welcome to another episode of Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. I'm Gooey, joined as always by McKenna.
Hello.
And your mission, I should have thought of, I was trying to think of a tie-in joke, but I only realized right when we started talking that I should have done something. But we're talking about Mission Impossible. Been looking forward to this one, McKenna.
Yeah.
And we've got this is going to be a pretty big episode, and we've got a great set of guests for this one. Both returning to the show, we've got our pal Jesse, aka Seinpeaks. What's up, Jesse?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome to have you back on. And we've also got Alex James Kane. What's up, Alex?
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Always a pleasure talking to both of you guys. I figured this is this would be a perfect intersection. Like, both of you guys are obviously prominently into games, but also like films. We've had both of you on to discuss like films in particular, so this is like a perfect cross section to have both of you on. So this is gonna be I don't want to jinx it, but this is gonna be an all-star episode. Before we talk about the game, I want to hit you with the flashback segment where we tell you what was going on when Mission Impossible released in the United States. It was July 16th, 1998. So we're actually, we had been moving at a pretty stagnant pace, but our last game was June 30th, Off-Road Challenge. So we've had a couple weeks now to get out of our system. And I want to welcome both of you guys to the era of the show where The Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica is still number one. It's taken number one for a 7th week in a row. It's the biggest track of the year. Undeniable banger, I would say. Unless, any dissenting, I think we can all agree that's a banger.
I have no problem with that, absolutely.
98 and 99 had some great radio songs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of music. I got a lot of music-related things here because music and movie-related things, because we talked about it. The City of Angels soundtrack has kind of bounced back and forth at number one, but we finally moved on to Armageddon, the album.
Ooh,
which also
Steven Tyler.
So ties into our number one movie.
It's an asteroid. How big? It's the size of Texas, Mr. President.
July 1st.
The United States government has just asked us to save the world.
Nothing can prepare you for the event that will rock the world. Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, Ben Affleck. In a Jerry Bruckheimer production, directed by Michael Bay. Armageddon.
Wow.
Rated PG-13.
Armageddon is the number one movie for only 1 week, and then it's ousted by Lethal Weapon 4. So,
wow.
You would think Armageddon would have more staying power, but I guess not.
People were jonesing for Danny Glover and Mel Gibson once again.
Yeah, for the fourth time.
Yeah.
We actually, by the time this is out, we should have already released an episode where we're going to talk about Armageddon, but I feel like it's a big enough movie that maybe, Alex, do you want to share any thoughts of Armageddon, or hey, Lethal Weapon 4 if you're more interested in that?
I remember being in line at Taco Bell with my dad in like 1998. Maybe first or second time I'd had Taco Bell, and like
that's a core memory.
These like teenage girls standing in line in front of me, and they had like Armageddon like cups and branding and advertising in Taco Bell, I believe it was. And these girls are like, "This Armageddon's gonna be good." And I just remembered people were really hyped for that movie. They're like, "Fuck yeah, end of the world, asteroids, take us out, please.
We wanted it so bad, yeah.
You know, and it was like kind of one of those big event movies because it had like, you know, a pretty good cast. It had the Aerosmith tie-in song on the radio. I haven't seen it in years, but you know, it's kind of a memorable Titanic-esque, you know, melodrama. You know, it's fun. It's fun, I guess, right?
Yeah, we had fun. We had fun watching it. I would say it's more in the realm of fun than good. We'll share more thoughts on it. But Jesse, were you jonesing for? You were looking for more Aerosmith. You could get 2 new Aerosmith songs on the soundtrack. So
what was the second song besides "Don't Want to Miss a Thing"? I
already forgot what it was called, but it's just another like it's not a Diane Warren penned tune. It's more Aerosmithy than anything.
Right. More of like a rocky kind of.
Yeah,
I'll have to check. I was a big Aerosmith guy in my teens, I think, and then I moved on to Led Zeppelin. But yeah, I remember like the absolute power that song had on the radio and with the movie and everything. The thing I remember most about Armageddon though is I don't know if this was a McDonald's tie-in commercial or if it was in the movie because I haven't seen it in so long. But like the scene where asteroids are coming down from the sky, and I think someone is sitting out on the street in New York eating a Big Mac, and then he looks up and gets hit by an asteroid. Maybe that happened. Maybe I dreamed it.
There is a similar scene, but it's not a guy eating a Big Mac. I think it's something else. So yeah.
Okay.
That's good tie-in though.
It really was. I know I saw the movie later on. I think I was because I was 8 years old in 1998. So I think I was a little too young for my parents to be like, yeah, sure. We'll take you to start seeing PG-13 movies. I wasn't quite at that level yet.
See, that ties into my story I have about, I'm going to say it on our episode. I'll just cut this out, but I want to tell you now that I was gifted the VHS of Armageddon when it came out. And it was later that year, and I was also 8 at the time, and my aunt gave it to me, but then my parents wouldn't let me watch it. And I think it's because the goddamn animal crackers scene.
Oh my God.
Somehow the animal cracker scene was more erotic and scandalous than the Titanic foggy windows scene. I don't know what it was. It was just like, what is going on with this animal cracker? This is forbidden knowledge. I'm not supposed to see this, but in the car in Titanic, it's just like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Whatever.
Just
I saw
a
that
hand on the
in
window.
the theater 3 times as like an 8-year-old somehow. I don't know.
There's actual boobs in that. There's actual boobs in that scene too.
Mm-hmm.
Animal cracker, he just slides the cracker in her pants, and it's like, well, that's just awkward. Like, no, who would want that to happen?
Right, you wouldn't know at that age. Like, what?
Well, McKenna and I will be delving deeper into this scene, so don't worry.
Since Armageddon hit, there's been a lot of this going on, even a little of this. But the one that hits McDonald's this week is the granddaddy of them all.
Other video games that released at the time on Windows, you had Warbirds, 3D Ultra Mini Golf Deluxe, Incoming, The Final Conflict, Small Soldiers Squad Commanders, which I want to mention, Small Soldiers was 3rd at the box office at this time. So we're definitely, I just want to talk about Small Soldiers sometime when we make some extra time for that one. PS1, you had Grand Stream Saga, Cool Borders 3, Hot Wheels Stunt Track Driver, and Tomba, which is a game my cousins had and I always thought was cool.
Mission Impossible is an action-adventure game based on the movie of the same name, where you'll play as Impossible Mission Force Agent Ethan Hunt. In each level, you'll have to complete a variety of objectives, making use of gadgets like the Facemaker or fingerprint scanner, as well as using weapons to subdue enemies and rendezvousing with your fellow agents. The game has 2 difficulty modes, Possible and Impossible mode. The latter offers a higher challenge, with Ethan more vulnerable to damage, the enemies less vulnerable, and with more or changed mission objectives. Go undercover, sneak around restricted areas, and complete your mission in Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible, it was developed by Infogrames and published by Ocean for the Nintendo 64. It's based on the film, which was based on a show. I'm going to have some slight quotes here in terms of the background for it too. This is from Men on a Mission, which was IGN 64's interview with some of the developers at the time. So Ocean began development when the movie was in pre-production in 1995. And they said Infogrames basically restarted when they took over. And that was because, he says, the game was too ambitious from the start. The Nintendo 64 was an unknown platform, and people thought that it could do miracles. Often I run a lot of projects where people wanted to do wonders with the artificial intelligence, and in the end, it simply doesn't stick together. I think that was a bit of overestimation on what the N64 could do from the start. In the beginning, Mission Impossible was supposed to be a PC project as well, and I think the game's design was a bit too PC-oriented. By the time things started to run on the Nintendo 64, it became clear that the project was supposed to be doing what the project was supposed to be doing wasn't going to happen at all. So just a little background there from the game and how it was made. I got to ask everyone, Jesse, if you want to go first, like what was your like entry point just into Mission Impossible, the brand? Was it this game or was it the movies, or where did you start?
I would almost say it was this game. I mean, I know that I was aware of the movie probably before the video game. But I didn't see the movie until I was like in junior high, like years later. I know I played the game first, and then I actually loved it so much at the time that I read the novel based on the movie, like the novelization.
Cool.
Like 6th grade or something like that. Really enjoyed that. And then I eventually got the chance to see the movie, probably on DVD or something. I mean, had really no knowledge of the original TV series, anything before that until much later. I mean, the music you can't get away from. Like, you hear it in the game, and then you've heard it somewhere else in like some TV show that parodied it, or a commercial or something like that, because that's just iconic. But yeah, that was one. It was I probably saw it in Nintendo Power, and then started renting it like crazy from Blockbuster. Never bought it, but rented it enough times to beat it, probably with cheat codes.
This is honestly probably a perfect like rental game. We've said that a lot about like a majority of the N64 library, but I really do feel that's true.
It's one of those games where like you're almost happy if you rent it and someone had a saved game before you that got farther, because there are some levels that are just so irritating that you could get stuck on them, like the one with the electrified floors. When I was trying to replay it, and this is my fault for replaying it on an emulator, but I gave up at that mission because he has no jump at all, and I couldn't get over anything. Too. Yeah, he's very stiff, and I'm sure that one of the times I rented it, someone had gotten past that and was already at the point where he's like lowering himself down to get the knock list. So perfect rental game.
Yeah, that's the scene you want. Alex, how about you? What was your sort of Mission Impossible entry point?
Yeah, so I owned the movie on VHS at a certain point, but I think it was after I had beaten the game a couple times, and the movie became one of those movies that I would just watch over and over when I was like a kid, 3rd grade, 4th grade, whatever it was. But I think basically it was one of those things where me, my sisters, my dad, we were all playing lots of GoldenEye, lots of split screen multiplayer, a year and a half earlier, something like that. And so I think I got Mission Impossible as a Christmas gift. I don't even think I had asked for it or maybe was even aware of it. I think it was just like, under the Christmas tree one morning. And I played it and replayed it. It's one of those games that is like extremely hard, and particular about things. But like as a kid, once you beat it once, you kind of can replay it a little bit more easily. And, we had like a lower tolerance for things back then. So, or a higher tolerance for frustration. And so, I think I fell in love with the video game just purely by whatever one of my parents thinking, oh, he'll like this because he liked GoldenEye. And now the movies are like, one of my favorite movie series there is. I think it's reliably a great time,
Absolutely, yeah.
So
I meant to have a prop that I was going to flash to you guys. That was cool, but I have a VHS box set of just the first two movies.
Ooh.
The two Mission Impossible movies. They were just like, slap those together. But we were watching them in the living room. I forgot to bring it in, but McKenna, we've watched all the movies together. I don't know if you had, if you were really into them prior to that.
They were on TV a lot growing up, so I caught them a lot. Maybe not from start to finish, but
that's pretty common. People who've heard the show know there's just like a movie on the TV at your house at all times, or sports.
Yes.
So you can catch like parts of The Lost World or Lord of the Rings or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think really watched them for the first time all the way through with a couple friends, and then we went to see the movies in theaters.
Yes,
the ones,
I guess we have talked about this because we did do like a bonus episode where we talked about the latest movie with Nick. I think we justified it because we were like, we know there's an N64 game.
Yeah,
we knew that after we started. I've had a cartridge for a while, but I think that was one of my friends that I wound up with. I did not play this. Did you know there was an N64 game like when we started the show?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I was really that, like, I'm pretty sure I'd seen it around, but like it just never really registered. And then I think when we started doing the show and I was going through my carts that I have, I was like, right, there's a Mission Impossible game. I don't know. And I think I fired it up for a second too. Like when we first got our N64 set up, and I was like, well, this will be fun to talk about. But this is really, this is for us. It's like pretty fresh experience. So
nice.
Would you? I'll let you start as like the freshest to it. What'd you think of the game?
I think it's a very cool concept. It was fun a lot of the time. It definitely not a perfect game. Got a lot of flaws in it.
I think that quote that I shared, like you can really feel that in the game. It's like, they want to do more, but they have a lot of limitations.
Yeah, I could see this like, in a, like they could make this now with like the ideas that they had then, and I think it could be a really good game.
Yeah. I feel like something like that new Bond game almost like gives me the vibes of, because there are some levels like when you're walking around the embassy function, like that was, I was like, oh, this is like Hitman E, I guess I would say. Alex, you were talking about playing GoldenEye and then getting this game. Like, what did you get this and you were thinking like this will be similar to GoldenEye? And then the second point on that is like GoldenEye, did you think it was going to be like a faithful adaptation of the movie? Because I think those are the things that, like the two things that are like the baggage on this game.
It's weird because back then games like movie tie-in games didn't really put in that much effort to be an adaptation of the movie. Like, so when I played Mission Impossible, the game, not having seen the movie yet, I had played GoldenEye and seen GoldenEye. So I think I already kind of understood that it's like, oh, there's like a boat with a helicopter in it in the movie. So there must be a boat with a helicopter on it in the game. But, and like, the antenna cradle showdown. But I think I already was beginning to understand at that age that it's like, it's more about them trying to make a fun, impressive, immersive game than like adapting the films 1-to-1.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's how we get to this place where we are now, where like a James Bond game is, it's like its own thing. It's an origin story. It's, very loosely drawing on the source material, and it's just trying to be like a good game first. And you could point to like a lot of the Star Wars stuff. It's doing a similar thing where it's like, it's not like they made Star Wars Rebels, the video game, instead of Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. And I don't know. I think that you can already see that tension in the old like N64 games or Super Star Wars on the SNES or whatever the case may be. They did like original Indiana Jones games back in the day that were like their own stories on top of movie tie-ins. And so I don't know. I think playing Mission Impossible the game for the first time, I probably was like, oh, this is kind of like Shadows of the Empire, where it's like, yeah, you can see the massive ambition and you can see kind of the growing pains. I mean, a lot of this is like in hindsight, but like you can see it kind of struggling to become what it wants to be. And yeah, I mean, playing 007 First Light recently, like 100%, I was thinking about Embassy Function and how
Embassy Function.
Yeah, that's kind of like the highlight of the game, right? In a lot of ways. It was nothing like GoldenEye. I think GoldenEye holds up beautifully in the modern age as like a single player shooter campaign. I think it's still fun to play through GoldenEye, and
for sure
you kind of breeze through it and feel like James Bond and feel like a badass. And Mission Impossible is not that, but
I don't feel like Ethan Hunt.
No, but it does so many of the things that it does well. It does really well, and like I can see where the fondness comes from and why I replayed it so much as a kid. But yeah,
was that in your mind, Jesse, as well? Like back in the day or whatever. Like I even the developers kind of said like when GoldenEye came out a year before. And they had to, they said like there were actually even things in the game that were similar to GoldenEye, and they're like, okay, we have to like change this. And I think it was
like the watch.
The watch, yeah. So like, did you always like have that in the back of your mind as well, or like how did you see the game? I guess.
Yeah, no, I always did, because I definitely played GoldenEye first, and then when this came out, when you're young like that, you don't really see the difference between things or that things compete with each other. I'm just like, oh, this is, basically in the GoldenEye universe. They're both secret agent movies. They both have the KGB as the enemy. They both have missions in like snowy Russian bases and, a little bit of sneaking around, and even the enemies kind of look the same, the guards and stuff. So in my mind, it was just like, yeah, okay, this is basically GoldenEye. And I think that kind of even boosted my opinion of the game, because when you're that young, you don't really judge a game. It wasn't a possibility to me that a game could be bad. If I wasn't having fun, it's just because I wasn't good at it or something. It was kind of like just another component of GoldenEye to me. And it's funny because the difficulties with it, like you said, Alex, GoldenEye, it moves fast. You feel like James Bond. You feel kind of like this smooth, sophisticated, like very skilled secret agent. And in Mission Impossible, it's hard and you don't feel like a Superman. And, as it doesn't make for great gameplay, but it actually kind of works if you compare James Bond with Ethan Hunt. Ethan Hunt, at least in the early movies, is like not an everyman, but he's a little more flawed. He's not perfect. He's not getting everything right the first time. As opposed to like the Pierce Brosnan era James Bond, who was almost like a cartoon superhero, with the suave lines and everything. So it kind of worked like that for me. But I also remember at that age, like, if you were playing out on the playground and it was secret agents, you were either going to be Ethan Hunt or James Bond. And I think a lot of times I chose Ethan Hunt over James Bond, probably for those reasons.
Wow. I don't think Ethan Hunt even had much, like pull in my childhood. Like I don't think this, maybe with like the slightly older kids, but yeah, it was like I was really thinking about that now. Like I was wondering, so I'm glad you kind of mentioned that. Like, was there sort of like a competition between these movies, and like they're connected, I guess more the movies than the games, but the games kind of play into it. Like, they came out around the same time. I also didn't realize this till rewatching Mission Impossible, like the VHS just now, and looking at the credits, but that the theme, the like remixed theme in that movie is done by Adam Clayton and Larry Mullen. Like,
oh yeah,
like
the rhythm section from U2.
Yeah, and meanwhile the other two guys did the Goldeneye theme. So I was like, is this?
Oh,
like,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, this reminds me of when we did an episode where Madden and NFL Quarterback Club released on the same day, and I was, were they like, oh well, we counter you, Bono and the Edge, with Adam Clayton and Larry Mullen? Like, what is going on here? Was this a rival? Like Alex, do you know if this was like a rivalry at the time?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of both of these movies and games, and I'm a big U2 fan. I've seen them in concert twice. I want to say twice. Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
And I've never really seen them bring this up in an interview, but they occasionally do kind of split up and go, like right now or pretty recently, they did a similar thing where like Bono and Edge were doing their like little acoustic thing and making a documentary with David Letterman in Ireland, and like the other two were off doing God knows what, their own projects, you know. I think when you're in a band together for like 40 years, you gotta have some level of like an open marriage type thing where you just go off and do your own creative projects for a while and write like, you know, I think Bono is a big personality, kind of the way that like Sting and the Police, you know, they hated each other kind of famously. And I think U2 kind of is very self-aware of that they have to split up and go do some small things. And it's probably already starting in the 90s because they were like the biggest band in the world with Octung Baby and Joshua Tree. So it would have been a very healthy thing for them to like, you know, go off. And I think, but Goldeneye was just kind of like a one-off thing, right? Like, yeah, I think that was just kind of a fluke thing that happened where they asked Bono and the Edge to write the song, and wasn't the story there that like the Goldeneye people wanted them to record it like as U2, and Bono's like, no, just have Tina Turner do it, like get out of here. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would like to hear if Bono or any of those guys have ever talked about it. I think the Mission Impossible track is really a banger. I think they did a good job with it.
Yeah.
It's so appropriate for, it's like the perfect, was it 1996 so a year after Goldeneye, but like perfect, like for that time period of like, well, it reminds me too of like the Goldeneye soundtrack has some of that too, where it's like more electronic,
absolutely
seeping into it a bit. So, yeah, McKenna, when you were playing it, we watched the movie that one time. We rewatched it yesterday, but like, did you ever have like actually, you didn't. You did not remember what was in the movie. I know for a fact, but
yeah, I remembered, you know, like some of the big things, but
of course
there were a couple times where I was like, did this happen in the movie, or is this different, or did they change? I'm not like, what is happening here?
Yeah, I was definitely like unsure. I mean, it definitely overlaps, and you know, Goldeneye takes liberties in its game, but here it's much bigger. You can tell like they had such an advantage on Gold, like they got to go to the set and take photos and all of this stuff, and obviously Rare probably had a lot more support financially going into this. So yeah, okay, I guess we shouldn't spend the whole time comparing it to Goldeneye, but I feel like it's just kind of unavoidable.
It's tough because it's definitely partially a response, I think, to Goldeneye. I mean, even though it started production before Rare started producing Goldeneye, it's the same way with the movies. It's like, they're not trying to compete or be the same thing, but it's like definitely Paramount saw what Bond was doing and wanted to go in a different direction, but also kind of ride the coattails of, it's the 90s. We love big action heroes. Let's get the biggest action hero of all time, Tom Cruise. And I think the games do that too. They're not copying each other, but they're kind of like, well, let's do this because they did that well. Let's do this differently to set ourselves apart.
Yeah. I think I think I would go Mission Impossible, the movie, over GoldenEye, but then, flop for the games. That might be a hot
I could see that. But I've never seen GoldenEye, the movie, still to this day for some reason.
Nice.
I feel like I've seen it because I played the game so much.
Yeah, basically everything that happens there is pretty much 1-to-1. You fight Jaws, the Moonraker. That definitely happens in there. So Alex, you mentioned this really actually stood out to me. I had it in my notes. You mentioned Shadows of the Empire, and like that really stands out to me. Like if like in the wider context of games, like people might not view those games as similar, but McKenna, you can probably attest to this. Like we've played every N64 game up to this point, and there's like literally no other game that I think is similar to Shadows of the Empire in terms of like, at least in the like levels where you're walking around. And this is really the only thing I can think of.
Probably like a lot of them, like other than that, I just think of like the more collectathon type, like where you're wandering around. Where these is more the action. And even this has more stealth than anything else I can think of that we've played.
I feel like even more than like, actually that's something it does have like kind of over GoldenEye is like there is a bit more of like the espionage aspect and like
I think you're like stuff. Encouraged more to avoid being caught.
But it does like lead to a lot of like moments where you're like, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Like you get the like mission briefings like in GoldenEye, but it's a lot. I don't know how people would have figured it. We end up looking at a game fac, but I imagine it was just like a lot of trial and error.
Oh yeah,
back in the day. yeah.
To suddenly think you're doing everything right, and then all of a sudden you've got mission failed pop up on the screen, or like a guard is holding you at gunpoint saying you're under arrest. Whereas, not to keep comparing to GoldenEye, but in GoldenEye you get to shoot your way out of a situation like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that was like the one thing, like with the difficulty, that's where the difficulty kind of comes apart for me, because a lot of it, to me, it comes down to knowing what to do, and it's sometimes so specific what you have to do, and the game might have a random thing where like if you're standing near a certain thing, like something might go like, oh, I guess I better place this thing here, and you're like, oh, but a lot of times like it just led us to like kind of following a game fac a little bit, and then it kind of takes some of the difficulty away from it, except for like random moments of like you mentioned, like those floors. There's just like little moments that are like kind of tedious to do, that it's like, okay, now I just have to like run through. And that's an experience you can have in GoldenEye as well, where you're like, oh, I failed this one thing. Now I have to kind of run through the checklist again. But I feel like it really stands out in Mission Impossible a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially on the old hardware and like the CRT TVs and stuff. Like the N64 graphics are so kind of impressionistic, I guess is like the art word for it. Like
blurry.
It's really hard. So like when you're supposed to like hit the security panel next to the door in the Black Vault CIA room, like watching a long play of that mission, like you can't even like see the door panel. So I don't know how I figured that out as a kid. I'll bet I spent 4 hours in that room just trying to figure out that step as a kid. You know what I mean? But
oh god,
I did try to like look up like, okay, so what was some of like the material context of this game? And we touched on this a little bit. Like you mentioned, like it was maybe supposed to be a PC game at one point. I also saw another source say maybe a Super NES title. So I was thinking like, okay, there's probably like one or two like full reboots of the project as it's like being developed. So Shadows of the Empire took a year and a half to 2 years and was like 5 different game engines stitched together. And it's like this massive, ambitious project, so I'm thinking like how did Mission Impossible take 3 years? But it was also an era where people would like crunch themselves to death and sleep in the office, and like there was no work-life balance back then. You know, it was just like,
I mean, they're straight up in the
or-
video game, you know? All the people who worked on it are in the game. They're stuck there.
Yeah, they're eternal purgatory. But yeah, so I don't know. The 90s were a crazy time for game development, and yeah, you can certainly see the ambition, but
I feel like too it speaks to like how rapidly things were developing. Like we talk about the N64, you know, it's like one of these early consoles that was pushing 3D gaming along with some of its contemporaries and whatnot. But like I think a majority of the games that we've played that we've like really been into, like there's some obvious like heavy hitters, but I feel like a lot of the ones we were like more surprisingly interested in like aren't ones that like are like what you think of now as like full 3D games, you know. And I feel like it's because like we just mentioned, like this and Shadows of the Empire are like the only two that we've had so far where it's like you're a guy running around shooting, doing missions in third person 3D. Like I feel like it's because like people are still trying to make sense of what to do with it, you know, and it's probably not easy to develop for.
It didn't. I think I learned this from listening to you guys. Wasn't Nintendo very protective of their hardware? They wouldn't give developers access to the actual engine or anything until like a certain point. So, you know, like you said, beginning thinking of different platforms like PC and stuff, maybe they just had ideas and really didn't know how it was going to turn out, even as they were building the ship.
Yeah, especially like they said in the one quote, going from PC to this, it's like I can't imagine. Like video games are magic to me, so I don't even quite understand how you make one, but let alone like you're making one for like at this time. I feel like the platforms are like so different, you know. So that sounds like a nightmare to me. Yeah. You know, one thing I would say about this game that's actually pretty impressive is we've had one other game that has like lengthy cutscenes, I guess you could say, which was like maybe the endings of Mortal Kombat 4 that we just had, where they had some cutscenes, but otherwise there hasn't been like lengthier cutscenes with voice acting.
Right.
There's been small ones in games, but this is the first one with like straight up voice acting and stuff. What did you think about that, McKenna?
I guess it was just I noticed it because it was there. You know, it wasn't anything super great, but it's there. So
you almost have to have like the person reading the Mission Impossible, like giving the mission, like that's such an iconic thing that it's good they had that.
Yeah, because you know you hear that GoldenEye has the mission briefings, but you know it's very kind of specific to Mission Impossible that you get the device and have the briefings read to you.
I guess you do. You still do have to sort through some of the text or whatever. But yeah.
I think the voice, it was kind of novel, I think, for a Nintendo 64 gamer back then, because the Nintendo 64 was like the only console I played besides the Game Boy. And so I think it was definitely part of the pull for me, is like starting the missions and hearing the voice and everything. It made it feel more cinematic, I think. But at the same time, looking back on it, the voices are really goofy in this game. Like Ethan Hunt, all his little sound bites are so, it makes me think of like mid-90s Midway arcade games, like, you know, the kind of toasty, you know, from Mortal Kombat or something. Like it's very kind of campy and cartoony a little bit, which is, it's funny, but it definitely defies sort of the Mission Impossible tone somehow.
I feel like the voice acting definitely helps in that regard. Like I think they did an okay job they had the music obviously too to catch that. They didn't have Tom Cruise. I don't know if the story
Not at all.
is there. I have read stories about Tom Cruise like not wanting his license captured, but that was like in the movies, right? When they were talking about using like CG Tom for like one of his like big stunts. So I don't know what the story is here, why they couldn't get his likeness in the movie. I couldn't like find an answer to that, but
I thought I saw that he just did not give permission to the developers. And I kind of appreciate on their part that, like, since they didn't have Tom Cruise, they could have just created a Tom Cruise lookalike, gotten as close as they could without like violating his, intellectual property. But instead they just created a brand new guy. Like the Ethan Hunt on the start screen is so un-Tom Cruise. It's very like mid-90s, video game CG. And the voice is nothing like Tom Cruise. The skin in the game is nothing like Tom Cruise. It's original, and I do kind of appreciate them for that.
We have Ethan Hunt at home. I mean, if you can recast Phelps or whatever, like theoretically you could recast. Now you can't, like in 2026, like it probably you can't recast him, but you would almost need him if you were to make a Mission Impossible game with Ethan Hunt now. But maybe not. Maybe not. But I feel like Tom Cruise would not even let it happen. So, Alex, one thing you reminded me of as well, in terms of comparing it to Shadows of the Empire, which I actually think might actually be the game to compare it to more than GoldenEye, other than like it's like lists of missions you have to do. But it also reminds me of Shadows of the Empire because you like it goes out of its way to kind of have more than just the walking around stuff. Like it tries to have like set pieces of things that you either recognize from the movie or just like variety of like types of things you can do. I know that was something like McKenna, you liked that about Shadows because that was more because you liked vehicles.
I liked all the vehicle levels. Yeah.
There's a kind of one vehicle level in this, so I don't know if this game appeals to you in that same way, but
I like the kind of set piece sort of things, even if they weren't great to play all the time. The one where you're actually retrieving the knock list is
that's like DC.
It's a challenge. But I kind of enjoyed it because it was kind of funny to make mistakes there.
We spent like an hour doing it.
We did.
We were like looking at videos and guides.
We got really good at getting through the lasers, and then we realized the real challenge was figuring out how to swing at the bottom.
Lining yourself up to like get the door and the computer, and like sometimes he's like, I think I'm at the right height. And it's like, okay.
Then you have the guy who keeps walking in, and like he just walks in every few minutes, like that's normal. Like
that's what he's supposed to do.
I just have to walk in and do something for a second and walk back out.
He's posting on LinkedIn or whatever.
We need to give him the thing to make him throw up. Like that should have been in there, but
one of the mission objectives
at the beginning of I think she says something about spiking his coffee, but it never really comes through in the gameplay.
So maybe we're presuming that he's going back and forth. Like there was sometimes a disconnect about what you're supposed to feel like is happening and what is actually happening. But maybe that's what we're supposed to believe. Yeah, that's
I think
clearly,
they rely a lot on the
I feel like I got to hear about what everyone has to say about playing that part of the game. So like Jesse, like did you get a chance to re-experience that, or do you have any memories of it that have stuck with you?
I didn't make it that far in this most recent go-round, unfortunately. I think I rage quit with the electrified floor mission. But watching y'all go through it definitely gave me flashbacks to when I played it as a kid. And it was a challenge. It's funny because the game, I don't remember as a kid how hard it was. And that's probably because I was just mashing the cheat codes in on the level select screen from some magazine that I bought off the stand at Kmart or something. But I remember that I just remember because I knew that was in the movie because I had probably seen it in commercials and again seen it parodied and stuff, just like other parts of Mission Impossible. So that was the most I felt like this is just like the movie, and it made me want to see the movie, which I think is like in that era, that was the goal of video game movie tie-in video games, was like get you to go to the theater or to your Blockbuster and rent it and go see the movie. And it definitely achieved that for me. Like that was when it felt like the most real, I guess.
They did, like, at least from the shot when it starts of you looking, like, it is like pretty, I think they captured the like spirit of it. Obviously there's not like laser grids going on in the scene, but when you're looking,
you don't catch your sweat with your hand.
Yeah, nothing like that. But like it does, like you look at it and you're like, I recognize that from the movie. So I would consider that a success at least. How about you, Alex? Like, I don't know, what do you think about this part?
I mean, yeah, I played through, I think, up past the floor puzzles. So I think I played like the first 2 acts of the game. I've been sick for a month, so I was hoping to play more. But yeah, I remember the Black Vault with the lasers being the hardest part of the game as a kid playing it for the first time at like age 8 or 9 or whatever. I think now it'd probably be not the hardest part, but it's such a weird those first 2 Mission Impossible movies have very like overcomplicated Brian De Palma plots, and so adapting them into a video game for kids is just such a funny thing. That the whole like mole hunt plot and Phelps, like that, all that kind of gets lost in the game, and it becomes just about like hitting certain beats and I think a funny byproduct of that is that Phelps ends up looking more like the TV show version of Jim, and then so many of the characters from the movie are not in the game even remotely, and then like you get Claire turns into Candace Parker for whatever reason, probably to further distance it from the movie plot, and like the fact that she's Jim's wife, which would be confusing for a kid. Like, why is the bad guy's wife helping you? Just all this weird stuff, and all this stuff of like Jim getting killed, but he's not really killed. Like none of that is in the game. And then you have Frank Barnes as like an adaptation of Robert Barnes, which is kind of hilarious because he's like a character that shows up in the movie a few times, but I don't think he has any really spoken lines, maybe like one scripted line that he says to Kittredge or something. But it's just funny that they chose Barnes as like the guy to put in the game, because he's like nobody in the movie other than like Kittredge's guy that he talks to, because Kittredge needs somebody to bounce off of. But
it's for the lore heads.
For the big lore heads. Yeah. Yeah, but then I guess Max makes it into the game, the Czech arms dealer, played by, what is her name?
Vanessa Redgrave.
Vanessa Redgrave. Okay, that's what I thought it was, but I was like, it might be one of her daughters. And doesn't she have like 2 daughters who are also famous actresses?
I think
so.
Natasha Richardson, is her daughter. Yeah. I don't know who else.
I think the woman at the end of the movie, the girl with the dragon tattoo, who Daniel Craig meets with, and it's like a big reveal who she really is. I think she's her daughter too, maybe. I think she might be the other daughter.
Jolie Richardson is her other daughter.
She might be the one in dragon tattoo, unless I'm totally wrong. I don't know, but anyway.
She was. Yeah, you're right.
Is that her? Okay, yeah. Great movie. Anyway, but yeah, it's I think Luther Stickle is who you play as when you're the sniper.
Yes.
And then like he shows up for like 2-3 minutes in the game, but in the movie series, he's like the best friend forever who there's a big meaningful,
he's the emotional core,
especially with like the most recent one. Anyway, it's so funny how little they cared about adapting the story versus like the experience. And
Mhm.
I think the reason that I keep bringing up Shadows of the Empire is that those are kind of the two like very modern AAA action games of the time. Like, you know, like you can draw a line to like Rise of the Tomb Raider and The Last of Us Part 2 and Red Dead Redemption. Like if you go back, then you have sort of like Tomb Raider on the PlayStation, and you have like Shadows of the Empire and Mission Impossible on the N64, I guess. So yeah,
This is like,
I don't
it's
know.
like sort of the blueprint for it, because like, you know, obviously they didn't just come from nothing and they were inspired by things, but like it was like, I feel like a lot of that was like, how do we take a lot of these like concepts from gaming and now we have like this 3D world to play in, you know? And so they did kind of like I said, I'm always hesitant to say like they invented genres, you know what I mean? But they kind of like you said, like they this is like the blueprint for this like particular strain of it. It's kind of cool to see that on. It's only like so far, like again, 2 of 80 games that we've played on this console that is supposed to be, you know, like what people think of like big 3D. Once we hit Ocarina of Time, that'll be like when we
that's
really hit
a big cornerstone for sure. Well, like and with the exception of like Ocarina and Majora, if you look at like the life cycle of like the N64 and probably the PlayStation 2, like you know, they sort of shy away from giving you full camera control, right? Like they sort of like move into simpler games with a curated camera. And I think that Shadows of the Empire and Mission Impossible, for all their flaws, they really went for it with that idea of like being able to look everywhere, go everywhere. And, you know, the Zelda games, I guess, didn't even give you full camera control unless you were stationary, right? And you had to like stop and then decide to look up. And so I don't know, it's interesting how some of the later 64 games, you get things like Bomberman and you know, Pokemon Snap, where it's like it's sort of one or the other, it's more focused.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Nick McConnell, and you caught me reading the instruction booklet for Street Fighter II in preparation for my weekly stream Instruction Derby, where I take a look at the creative, fun, and sometimes bizarre lost art of video game manuals. Did you know that, according to the manual for Street Fighter II on the Super Nintendo, Ryu was born in 1964, making him 62 years young, canonically? Happy birthday, Ryu. You're looking great. Did you also know that, per the manual for Laser Invasion on the Nintendo, the UN enters a conclave in order to select a new commando? Or did you know that the dancing enemies in Super Castlevania are named Paula Abgul and Fred Askare? These important facts and many more are discovered every Wednesday at noon Pacific on Instruction Derby over at internet website twitch.tv/Nick McConnell. Part of the Soundstone Network.
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.
How this kind of relates to me too in the presentation is like, this is one that is going for more like realism, you know, like it's kind of, it's not meant to look exactly like the movie, but you know, it's meant to look like the real world. It's like based on a movie, like set in the real world, where it's like, like GoldenEye has that obviously, but otherwise like, like a game like Mario 64, it's like, you know, they can just be like, now there's just like a weird polygon here and you don't really question it, you know, it's like, it's Mario. But this is like one of the only games we've gone, like we've had, other than like, you know, there's like racing games and things like that. But again, in terms of just like, you're a guy in the real world, like, I think they like, I don't know, I've read like mixed things about how people feel about the graphics. I wouldn't say they're like mind-boggling, but some of the sections we were playing, McKenna, I thought was like, this looks halfway decent. It's presentable, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. As far as like games with more realistic looking graphics are on N64.
Yeah, they're never gonna like age quite as well as maybe something more stylized. But if you get something like this, I feel like it's commendable.
I think the whole embassy function looks really good.
You were feeling it at that point in the game.
Yeah, at that point I was like, is the whole game going to be like this? Because this is awesome. And then it's not.
Then you got down in the basement and you were like blowing yourself up. Oh no.
Getting poisoned, yeah.
It's kind of funny when you talk about the graphics with this game, because there are some things it does better than a lot of other games, and then there's some areas where it kind of falls behind. Like I feel like the textures overall are a little muddy in this game to be rewatching it. Like what they do with walls and mountains and things like that, it does feel very sort of stretched and blurred. But I would say like the character designs are a little polygonal, but the faces, I think they were a little more ambitious than other like grounded action games that had realistic character design. Like Ethan's face was, had distinguishable features that weren't just a skin stretched over a head. Candace the same way. My one gripe with the character design is that every single enemy has the exact same skin, and so it's really apparent when you're in a mission where you might have like 5 guards in a hallway with you and they're all shooting you, and they look like clones of each other. And it's not Star Wars where they're all wearing the same mask and uniform anyway. It's like they've all got the same face, and it's really kind of jarring. In a game that's otherwise like really grounded, it's not. I mean, one difference from Shadows of the Empire, that was still in the era where if you wanted to collect ammo or power-ups or something, it was like a spinning icon. It kind of broke from realism. And in this game, it's literally just like a to scale gun that you pick up off the ground. Like there's nothing really kind of gamey or gamified sort of about items that you're collecting. So it had some benefits there.
You can tell they thought about that, because they would be like, he dropped a gun, because like normally in a game you could probably see it. Like in GoldenEye, they don't even really have to say that, even though it's similar. But in this, they're like, and I appreciated it, honestly, because I'd be like, I need bullets.
But why didn't they? My complaint about that is, why didn't everyone drop a gun? Because they're all holding a gun when you shoot them. Are they all running out of ammo and only 10% of them? Because it seems like you don't that often pick up ammo after you kill someone.
No, you're right.
I just got heated about that.
I think only, like, I don't know how they just, certain people, because we were replaying these missions a lot. So I think there were certain people you could rely on for guns, but as to why, I don't know why all of them didn't, but.
Because you do tend to run out of ammo kind of quickly, especially with how difficult it can be to aim correctly. So you wind up spending, dropping a whole case of bullets on a single guy and then still firing because you don't realize that he's dead.
Yeah, well, there'd be a lot of stuff like that where I would accidentally do something, because we talked about like the controls are stiff. Some, like McKenna, you'd point out with like climbing boxes, sometimes it was like sometimes you jump on them, sometimes you hit A to climb them, and it was like
it wasn't consistent.
And then the aiming is a little awkward. But then like having to switch your items sometimes, especially in like a heated moment, where you need to pull out like a certain thing, like the whole, I can't even describe, like you hit B to bring up your weapon wheel, and you scroll through it, and then you hit A to equip the thing,
right? But then you got to use the C buttons to get to your sort of non-gun items, which it took me a second to figure that out. And on the subject of items, do you notice any discernible difference between the guns, like in terms of power, or because it seemed to me when I was playing it like they were just all kind of the same gun, except for maybe the Uzi, because you could rapid fire that one.
And there's like a stun gun, and the stun
gun's different too. Yeah.
there was a few that I don't know, Alex, did the guns seem different to you, or what was going on there?
I always was a big fan of the tranquilizer dart gun. I thought that was a cool thing that I had never seen before this game, and not in a ton of games since, really. Like, we kind of take it for granted that we just kill everybody that's in our way in a lot of these action games, like Lara Croft, is like a mass murderer and stuff. But
Metal Gear Solid, actually. I didn't mean to interrupt, but it just occurred to me that Metal Gear Solid might have taken some cues. I don't remember exactly what the release date was, but they use tranquilizers.
That's
and
I
think the selecting guns and items is kind of in a similar fashion in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do have kind of a similar like interface and stuff.
Yeah. God, I think that was 98 as well. So actually, it might have already been out too, which is funny to think about. Like, oh no, it's October 98 that it comes out in North America, at least. But I think that's funny too. Like, we've already like talked about how unfavorably it might compare to GoldenEye, but then Metal Gear Solid comes out later in the year. We'll definitely have to play that together for an episode, McKenna. Sorry, Alex, I didn't mean to.
Oh no, I mean, I last night I watched the first movie, and then Paramount Plus is like, here's the second movie. We're just gonna hit play for you because we want to keep you here. And me being me, I sort of like watched half of the second one.
Now,
and it's funny, the villain
game.
Yeah, that would be a hell of a game. The villain actually says Hunt will probably go in through the top, avoid security to, rather than harm a single hair on one guard's head or something like that. Like, basically, he points out the fact that Ethan Hunt doesn't like to kill people. So that made me think of the tranq gun immediately. It's kind of a cool little concept. And I don't know. I remember being a kid and a teenager and like drawing little characters and making my own little stories. And the tranq gun was definitely like an interesting little bit of, it's just a cute idea that.
Because we were getting like the Please Stop the Violence TV ad campaigns at the time. And I feel like the 90s was the peak of, and maybe it still is today, but like as a kid, I was like, I don't want to kill these people. Can I just tranquilize them? And I think that was the option that I went for most of the time.
We're used to it with Star Trek. That's all. Half the time, that's what they're doing.
Oh, the stun. Yeah, true.
You set it to stun, but I think too in the levels where you're like specifically shooting like CIA agents, like you can only get that gun. So I also think there's a bit in there of like there may be a worry about like, oh, we don't want to sell it. Like, a kid might play this, and what their parents are going to think if they're shooting down like members of the United States secret service or whatever
intelligence community.
It like aligns with the movie too, because when they're doing the mission where they retrieve the necklace in the movie, there's a part where Ethan's
got the knife.
He's like, no casual, zero body count.
It's too bad they didn't get Jean Reno.
Yeah,
in the game. Like, that would have been killer. Well, the controls are a bit wonky. Honestly, though, like the main, like, I think when you were even playing when you were in the level where you're like blowing yourself up, I think there was a bit of like, you're like, this is cool, like surprisingly good. Like, I don't know if you'd say it's like a great game, but I think you were kind of surprised by like that aspect of it.
The fact that it's not as like combat focused helped, because that's something like when I play a modern game that has stealth as an option, I usually go the more stealthy route, not usually going for like open combat very often. In games where there is a lot of combat, I have this strategy where I run back and like try to lure enemies and pick them off one by one. I just like, all right, there's not too many guys to worry about. I can run around, do other objectives.
The stealth / puzzle missions, I think, were the most fun for me. That's where the game shines, because it does kind of separate itself. Instead of doing what other games like GoldenEye did, maybe worse, it does its own thing, like very uniquely. And those were the most memorable ones, especially Embassy. I know I played that mission the most because when you're that young and you can't get very far, you just replay the first couple of missions over and over again. That's why Facility is the most memorable, stage in GoldenEye for me. But
Absolutely.
yeah, those they're fun, and they're like they give you the more opportunities to do the off task kind of things that kids love to do, like just exploring, or I'm as a kid not sure, like if I run as Ethan in this mission, are people going to get suspicious of me because I'm so I can't tilt the joystick too far or else they're going to arrest me or something like that. And kind of exploring the ferns and the chairs and the different corners and talking to the piano player and stuff like that. It kind of the more imaginative stuff. And I think that's kind of where the game shines so much, is that it is a creative game despite kind of its constraints. I think they had some really cool ideas, and where you could kind of take time and appreciate them instead of just struggling to headshot a guard who was hitting you with no problem. You do kind of stop and appreciate it.
Yeah, I could definitely those type of things where you're like just interacting and like talking to people and like doing the thing of like, oh, if I do this, like it was pretty minor, but actually like, oh, if I get the guy his music, he'll play the thing and like trigger this thing. Like there's a little bit of that like aha moment, even if it was hard to find sometimes. But
yeah, and the music was a jam too, and that level, the piano waltzes and stuff. I thought that was that gets stuck in your head.
Every time we went to stream it, McKenna was like, what song should I play for like stream starting soon? I'm like, just Embassy Function.
Embassy Function.
Banger.
Nice. The music overall is great in this game.
Yeah. You were
on the topic of the Embassy Function, the one more thing I wanted to mention is that there's a point where you have someone who is following you the whole time. And like we haven't played something like that on N64, and it just makes it feel so much more tense. Like you turn around and like, oh my god, she's closer. It reminded me of a lot of horror games like Resident Evil, like Alien Isolation, where you just have somebody that's constantly on you.
Yeah, that's just like another one of those like little details they can put into a level to actually like, I guess
it makes you feel more alive.
Yeah, you're like more immersed into what's going, more alive.
It was really nerve-wracking. I remember that, like as an 8-year-old, like because you hear in the briefing that there's an assassin that's going to try and get you, and you don't know who it is at first, and then it's obvious once you see the woman in the red dress. But like, I'm like, it could be any of these people, and then she starts following you, and then it also feels a little bit like. It almost feels, as a kid, more adult, like walking into the bathroom and then there's the woman and I'm like, am I in the right bathroom? Am I supposed to be here? Right. And then I have to tranquilize this person. Because it's the most fun stage, but there is that, that's the most tense part in my memory is because it's like so much you don't know.
Mine was getting hit by all the dang fire extinguishers later in the game.
Yeah,
you find your friend's dead, and then now all these guys are blasting you with fire extinguishers. Like,
oh man,
couldn't handle it. No, but you're good. Also, good shout on the music. Like we mentioned, like it does capture. There's like 2 memorable Mission Impossible themes you obviously want to get in there, and I think they're both incorporated really well. But then beyond that, like some of the original compositions, Embassy Function in particular, really good.
Mike Hummel, the composer, just want to shout him out. He did a great job. I tried looking him up. I haven't played any of the other games that he's done, but he did a lot of he did a Gex game. He did a bunch of NFL and wrestling games. He did BMX XXX, which I never played.
Wow.
But
okay.
I think his stuff was really good. It's obviously not as iconic as, again, going back to GoldenEye, but I feel like it has a little more fidelity and variety than the Star Wars Shadows of the Empire game, which, I mean, it's obviously fantastic John Williams stuff, but it's like very short loops. It feels like it goes on for longer, and there's different movements in the themes for each stage, and they're really memorable, and they're kind of, they get the energy pumping and they fit the tone every mission, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the atmosphere, there are brief moments where like the atmosphere is like really good. And it's like, whoa, okay, like
Atmosphere, that's the right word.
You feel like you're like slightly like it's sort of like a magic trick where there are like some moment, it's not as convincing as maybe like Goldeneye, but there are a couple moments where you can get kind of like swept up into it. Again, until like there are some things that take me out of this game like pretty often, but that was pretty commendable, I would say.
The other musical theme is called like The Plot from the TV show, which is another Is it Lalo Schifrin? Is that how you say his name, the composer?
I think.
And it's funny because like if you watch, a lot of critics have pointed this out by now, but like if you watch the first film, you like basically don't hear that other theme, but it's very prominent in the game. The da 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 dun da dun, and so I remember Mission Impossible 3 coming out, and they used that pretty heavily in that movie, and I was like, oh shit, it's the theme from the game, finally, And I'm sure if you watch the TV show, that's like all the time, but I don't think the first 2 movies didn't really feature that at all. So
I've watched a decent amount of episodes, not a lot. We watched one yesterday, and that theme is like in the show more than the Mission Impossible theme. Like really, like it's they throw that because it's so tense, so it works in a lot of the scenes. It's like the Mission Impossible theme is a bit more I don't know, upbeat. Like it's more like when some like really action is popping off, but like that theme is like more of what they're doing throughout the show of like setting up the whole impossible mission they're doing and executing it and all the tension that goes with it. I guess I just wanted to shout out a few more of the kind of set pieces in it. We had previously mentioned where you play as Luther and you're doing like the sniper stuff, like that felt like there's stuff like that throughout gaming. And that felt like another like, oh, this could be kind of one of those like ground zero moments for this. Like there was a set piece in the latest Resident Evil where you're doing that, and that was actually the most fun part of the game for me. I mean, maybe because it was not hard. It was kind of just like follow them around and shoot the guys who pull out their guns, but it got me into it. Also, there was like the whole train sequence that's sort of that's sort of from the movie, but not really. But again, relating it to Goldeneye, you love to see a train mission.
Love a good train mission, and the fact that I think you mentioned this on the stream, but like you can actually see through the windows of the train. They did a good job with that, kind of creating the
you caught that there
motion effect,
the little like repeating skybox they had there, or whatever you want to call it, little graphic to make it being on top of the train was way different than the movie, obviously. The movie actually, so I feel like the later Mission Impossible movies are like really where the stunts become the focus and they become a lot more convincing, whereas in the first one I feel like the train thing is a lot more like they're just like blowing wind on these guys and they're not really on a train. At least I don't think. It doesn't come off. It comes very like, they got a lot of like green screen CG. But to its credit, they do convey like if you're on top of a train, like it's going to be very difficult to do things. But this is more like video game. Like it's kind of repetitive. You're just kind of like shoot guy, shoot the helicopter, repeat. But it's pretty cool as sort of it's not even really the finale, but it's kind of a cool set piece, I would say. Yeah, the gunboat ending thing. Also, kind of dumb, but pretty cool.
It's a fun finale.
It reminded me when you get to drive the tank in Goldeneye, and it's just like, okay, cool. You get to blow up a bunch of stuff.
It feels a little. I mean, it's high stakes, but it's sort of low stakes at the same time. It's almost like one of those mini games like Smash Bros, where it's the credits, but it's still playable. And you're just trying to destroy as much crap as you can on the way out. It kind of had that fun element because there's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of precision involved. It's just like your mission, blow all the shit up.
Yeah, it's so different from the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It stands out more so than like say the vehicles and shadows, because it is just like such a left turn from everything else, but it's still fun. Like it's still pretty satisfying. And I also I do kind of like that. I mean, I guess GoldenEye is like this too, but like you kind of finish the sort of plot of the movie, if there is really plot of the movie, but then there's like, oh, here's some more for you to do.
Yeah. More gameplay.
I was like that. That would appeal to me. Like you guys are both talking about that idea of like seeing the movie or the game or whatever, and like it kind of enhancing like the other aspect, like whether it's the game to the movie to the game. And that's something that would work for me, because like you can like like I would do this a lot with video games where you kind of like would imagine like stuff beyond the game, and I feel like that is you can sort of do that. Yeah, you can imagine like beyond the movie, like there's continuing adventures, and I get to like participate in them.
Yeah, it does it kind of similarly but differently than GoldenEye, where GoldenEye you beat the Cradle, and then you get Egypt and the Aztec, I guess, level. I can't really remember, and it made me think, okay, this is from the other movies. There's this whole universe that they've established with these different stories, and now I need to go back and watch all of them so I can understand who these villains are and what's going on. And then in Mission Impossible, I didn't get that sense because there wasn't anything else besides the TV show that I didn't know about. It was just like, oh, cool. I can go back in and revisit the first level and do some other fun stuff. And it just felt like extra fun to me. But it also did, like you said, it kind of it made it feel more big. It made it feel bigger and more real.
They get to reuse that first level too, so pretty economical. So
yeah, it's kind of a time saver for them. Yeah, and a space saver, I'm sure.
But the game, this also happens a lot too. This might just be the nature of like how games are covered, but like we play a lot of these games. Like some of them have more of like a mixed legacy when you talk to people about it. Like a lot of people I've talked to since finding out about this game was like, oh, I love this game, but it maybe wasn't perfect or whatever. And they start to kind of get remembered as like maybe these big disasters, but like the game actually like sold okay, and actually like reviewed okay. Like there were some bad reviews for sure, but like I don't think it was like, I feel like it's something that maybe with more space that's kind of like had people like thinking back on it, or like maybe seeing how some of those games that have come since that you mentioned, Alex. But I don't know, it got a PS1 port out of it, which reviewed about the same. So I don't know. What do you think, Alex, about like the legacy of Mission Impossible?
It's weird, I think that it just it suited my tastes, like I became a big fan of like the Splinter Cell games, like the first three especially, and stuff like Hitman World of Assassination or the 007 game. So you can definitely see that DNA of like stealth. And I guess I didn't really touch Metal Gear Solid until years later for the most part, other than like one PS1 demo disc that my uncle had. I'd play in like a 10-minute burst or whatever, but a lot of it has to be done in like a very specific order of operations where, this trigger has to happen before these other triggers can be available. And, but if you kind of ignore that fact, it does play a lot like a immersive sim style Hitman type thing with, just the sheer detail. And we kind of touched on that with the gun pickups being for the ammo, but like where like realism and like logic and reason being kind of like the guiding design principle versus like pickup tokens and things that you would see in Mario or whatever. But at the same time, I think where we talked about the voiceover and stuff, and I think like funny enough, I think Star Fox is the game where the voiceover holds up the best from the N64 era, unless there's something I'm forgetting. But like Star Fox 64 had like
iconic stuff for sure.
It was like fully voiced, and I think most of these games, the writing and the voiceover and the narrative design was kind of an afterthought that like programmers or artists just sort of shoehorned in there. Not
and
to
the
like
programmers are doing the voices themselves because someone's got to do it.
Yeah. Not not to downplay the art too much, but it is kind of funny how he's just kind of like sounds like a non-actor doing the Ethan Barks, like, oh, good job, like
way to go.
Way to go. That kind of stuff. And you compare that to like Star Fox 64, which kind of sounds like an anime, like a fully voiced cartoon.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Mission Impossible is sort of in this weird middle ground to me, looking back at it, where you're probably looking at it from some kind of academic curiosity, podcasty lens like we're doing now. It probably feels like homework to a lot of people to go back to that game. Although I will say, when I bought my gaming PC like 2.5 years ago or whatever, and when I downloaded the Ares emulator, I think the first game I fired up was Mission Impossible for the N64.
That's amazing.
Nice.
So it's just like one of those things where, to somebody like me who it kind of hit the right intersection of tastes and interests at the time, a kid coming from GoldenEye but wanting more of that stealth and the Splinter Cell type stuff that didn't exist yet. We just didn't know those things were possible with like light and shadow and the sound triggers and all that stuff. But like, you can see them trying those things. And I think the assassin at the embassy is a fun, definitely a noteworthy touch. That, I mean, what else would you see that in at around that time? Maybe like Resident Evil 3 or something. But I don't know. It's definitely fun to play if you're like a Mission Impossible fan, or somebody who missed out on the N64 era in general. But it's just one of those happy accidents that I got it for Christmas without asking for it or anything like that. So
we encounter games like that like somewhat often on our show, where it's not the tentpole release, but like there are certain games like that where like we've had like half a dozen people who like really latch onto a game, and this was one. Like there was like a handful of people who were like, I like love this game. Like they had like such a strong like connection to it, because like you, they got it like right, just showed up one day and that was their game.
We touched on this a little bit earlier about how like licensed games were kind of like an advertisement for the game. But I think like in hindsight, looking back, they also contribute to this larger phenomenon of like building up the IP to be something different or bigger too. Like obviously like these same developers made like a bunch of Batman and Flintstones games and Addams Family games, and like I doubt those get talked about all that much by comparison. But something like this coming out, this was like the only other Ethan Hunt era Mission Impossible thing there was at one time, right? So it probably fed into a new generation's understanding of that IP the same way that like Friday the 13th the game, or GoldenEye 007, or so many Star Wars games, Knights of the Old Republic and things, Shadows of the Empire. It becomes part of the larger brand building fabric and world building and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's funny. Like, would I be a big like fan of all these Mission Impossible movies if not for this kind of mid N64 game? I don't know.
I'd be curious about that. I feel like, because you're like big into like film and stuff, so I feel like both of you guys would probably be drawn to these anyway. So, but
probably.
I mean, I can imagine like like, yeah, like you mentioned, Jesse, like how you've never seen GoldenEye. I know a lot of people who like, yeah, GoldenEye, like their conception of James Bond and everything is like based around that, like Pierce Brosnan, not because he was in the movies when they were a kid, but because he was in this game when they were a kid. So, how do you feel about like, the legacy of the Mission Impossible game?
I mean, first, just to speak for me personally, I think it did a lot of cool stuff that helped me overlook the things that might turn an adult gamer away. To like come into a game at that age where it was it required more creative thinking, and it moved slow. And to me, as an adult, the slow gameplay is kind of a detriment because I'm like, I just want to get past this. Why is it so slow? But at that age, like it allowed me to kind of develop the skill and also kind of look around and take things in. And I think that was really important. Just because like I was getting into video games at that age, and I was getting it, especially coming in the 3D era, where all of a sudden it wasn't just side scroller level, but it was like there were hub worlds and you could go in different directions and, go into first person view and look all around. And I think it really kind of worked to sort of spark your imagination with stuff like that. And for them to kind of be coming in at the ground floor of 3D gaming and experimenting, they did. I mean, there were, I think, some decisions they made that no one else made, and for good reason. And people just didn't, we're not going to aim that way. We're going to give you the ability to duck around a corner instead of just kind of turning and walking. But I think it also kind of, they made some choices that other people were starting to make that kind of went on to make the template of what kind of an action, sneaking, suspense, puzzle-based spy thriller could be. I think that kind of, if you shave off the clunky parts of the game, that's sort of its legacy. And I think you're able to, because I think in those days, you wouldn't throw a game in the trash just because the controls were bad. These days, if this game was released today, I think fans would be like tweeting furiously at Infogrames, like, take this back, fix it, re-release it, and then we'll play. Back then it was just like, you get what you get, and maybe it's hard and maybe you're going to suck at parts of it. But hey, at the end of the day, it's still a video game, and that's all it had to be.
Yeah.
But it was fun for that. I think that's kind of how I remember it.
Yeah, I feel like I think a lot of people would maybe pick this up now and play a couple levels in and be like, that's it. I mean, even me, like we played through the game on stream. We had fun. We didn't even talk about it. The difficulty levels are possible and impossible. And like a GoldenEye, the harder difficulty adds more objectives. So we played through it on possible. And then as we were coming up to do this episode, I was like, oh, maybe I'll play through it on impossible. And I played a couple levels and I was like, I think I get it. I was like, I don't think my perspective of the game is going to be seriously changed. And so I sort of understand. For me, it was like on the second time around, but I can kind of understand maybe someone trying this out now and being like, ugh. But I would encourage people. I think, like you sort of said, Alex, as like sort of a historical curiosity. Like, I think that aspect of gameplay is also fun. And if you can just accept, like, hey, it's kind of what both of you are saying. Like, there's just some things that are like really stupid in this, and you might just have to look at a game fact that thankfully, someone back in 2000 wrote or whatever. Like, there are those sort of things, and there might be some stuff that doesn't feel right to you now at this time and what you're accustomed to with gaming. But I think there's something worthwhile about playing through these games and seeing, what people were going for at the time. And kind of what both of you are saying too, you can like feel the ambition that they had in the game, which I think makes you appreciate it more.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say about it is you got me thinking something that the game and the Mission Impossible movies, like all the movies, really benefit from is, you know, and maybe it was more so intentional or not with the earlier ones, but kind of the movies work great. To me, I always said the Mission Impossible movies, they're the perfect movie to, you check into a hotel, you turn on the TV, and you're like 1/3 of the way through Mission Impossible 3 on TNT. Like that's the optimal way to watch some of these movies. Like, and Mission Impossible, the game, is one of those games where it works, in my opinion, best as a rental. Like best as you check it out, you take it home, you pop the cartridge in, and the person who played before you maybe got to stage 4, and then you can actually see the parts of the game that you might not be able to get to if, you know, we buy things the way we buy them today, where you download it, you know, from the e-store or Steam or whatever, and you're starting from scratch and you're not going to get past that. You know, they worked really well like that, where it's a little low stakes and you can kind of explore and kind of do your thing, just like popping on that movie, and you're right in the middle of Philip Seymour Hoffman's monologue. And, you know, you don't have the burden of like, okay, am I going to start this from the beginning and commit to the whole thing? I think that's why it kind of imprinted on me so much.
I totally get. I like the idea of like collectively playing through this game with some other random person who rented it. There's something. It's like bringing the world together. McKenna, what do you make of like the maybe not the legacy of this game, but where it stands in our podcast history, and like, you know, your kind of final word on it? What do you think?
For as much as it maybe feel like reminds you of GoldenEye, I think it's doing its own thing in a lot of ways. It's doing new things that we haven't seen on the N64 so far. So I definitely appreciate it for that. You know, we may have struggled through some parts with the controls and the movement a little bit, but
I got legit angry a few times.
You did. But
I had fun.
Which is funny, because I think sometimes I can get more frustrated with the game, but you'll get more like actively angry at something. I get like extremely bothered. I think this is worth playing, at least for the embassy function. You'll experience the highs, and there's a lot going on in that section, and you know, you might play one other level and experience some of the lows. And
go watch our VOD of the CIA
it's great
scene, and then you'll get the experience that way. So
but I think any game, regardless of how it plays, is maybe worth playing for the historical perspective.
At least once.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like there's some I know you would just never want to touch again.
Yeah.
This is probably one.
Maybe not even like for all the way through, just, you know, getting a taste of it. And
I would say the way we played it, like we mentioned the things getting angry, it was actually really fun. Like I don't think I would rank it, but like the experience of us collectively, and it helped too, I think, playing it together and like showing our friends on stream. Like it is one of those games that I think there is a fun factor to kind of like the discovery of all its little quirks and things, like and experiencing with like I can see by yourself that might be a frustrating experience, but like us together, we were having like pretty much constantly a good time, even by the things that were baffling. And you know, every once in a while there's a little goofy thing happens, like you send a guy flying off of a treadmill or whatever, and it's like, okay, great. Like didn't expect that. So I would say, well, you know, we had fun. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I think this is the kind of game where it's worth a play. It brings up a lot of great memories from me. It's obviously not one of the all-time greatest, and it is always going to pale in comparison to the games that you can't help but compare it to. But I think it has a place. It does its job, and it's a lot of fun to go back through, for sure.
And yeah, even in their ambition, actually, they asked them in that interview, they asked if they thought it could have benefited from a multiplayer mode. They were probably thinking of GoldenEye. And they actually did say in that, like, Mission Impossible is so different from James Bond. Like, it's a one-man show. And they said Mission Impossible, if it was a multiplayer game, it could only be done cooperatively, which would be harder to do. So I like that even there, they were like, you could tell they were like really trying to imagine what you could do with Mission Impossible and how it would stand alone and be its own thing. Even if it's something they couldn't do, like, I appreciate that you could feel the sort of like ambition or like what they wanted to put into the game. And it makes me, like, honestly respect them a lot more, especially given all the factors you mentioned, Alex, about like, I'm sure they were crunched to death. And so I definitely props to the developers. Like, anything negative I say, it's like, I love them for making this game, you know?
I want somebody to make that co-op Mission Impossible game where each person is like a different member of the IM team. You know, even if it's got the serial numbers filed off, like, I will wish list that on Steam today. So free $1 billion idea for somebody out there with a lot of knowledge and ambition and skill that I don't possess. So
I'd like to say IO try and take that it could be in the Hitman world or something, but you know what I mean? Like, take that idea. I think there's something there, because that's big now too, like cooperative multiplayer.
Friend slop games.
Yeah,
even the Mission Impossible friend slop game.
I call Luther for sure.
You know, a sequel was announced around the time of the PlayStation port, but it was canceled. That would have been interesting to see if that was like an attempt to do the second movie, presumably, because we kind of touched on that. Would have made a crazy game, but other than that, I have a lot of fondness for this very weird, janky game that's there's that moment where what is the line? You're like on a computer in the like Siberian submarine base, and you're gonna do like the facemaker gadget on this guy, and he's like, "What are you doing in here?" And I think he says he like lost his dog and he's looking for his dog or something. There's just like so many goofy little moments like that.
You punch him out too.
Yeah.
That was they do this all the time in the Mission Impossible show. Like, when they have to knock someone out, it's very much like the old school, like Austin Powers, like karate chop, like type thing. I know you're punching them out, but it has that like same energy, like the slappers, where it's just like video gamey, like punching the guy's lights out. Very fun.
And it's Leonard Nimoy is in there in the TV show. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we watched an episode yesterday where Shatner guest starred too. So there's
hell yeah.
Yeah, for all the Trek heads, you want to seek that out for sure.
Good morning. The man you are looking at is Ethan Hunt. He will be your point man as usual for this situation. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, will be to guide Ethan and his team of IMF agents through 20 levels of espionage and deception. As always, should you or any of your force be caught or killed, the Secretary will disavow any knowledge. This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Good luck.
Thank you both so much for giving us your time. Really, really appreciate having you on. Like I said, I knew this was just going to be great fun. This game, this episode, this group of people. So always good to have you back. I actually want to let everyone know our next game we're coming up on is F1 World Grand Prix. So it's our second F1 game. So get ready to hear our thoughts on that. It's going to be, we have some experts coming on. They probably don't want to be called that, but that's nice. What I'm going with. Okay, we'll let you guys get out of here. Jesse, what do you want to plug anything? Thank you again for coming back on.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. This is a blast every time. You mentioned my meme account, Seinpeaks, for those who are fans of 90s TV, especially David Lynch, Twin Peaks, and Seinfeld. I do a goofy little mashup video editing account. And I've got an audio podcast where I've got like a sort of a radio play that I've been putting together for the past 5 years with like a massive cast and lots of music composers and people that have been really talented in putting something cool together. That's called The Other Side of Darkness. It's on all the podcast platforms. I've been working on the next episode for the past like 2 years, and we'll hopefully have that out sometime this year. That's basically that's my thing. I'm out on I think Instagram, I'm not really on TikTok anymore. I kind of fell off there. Instagram's kind of the main one these days. I'm on Blue Sky as well.
Yeah, highly recommend everyone check out the account and the podcast. It's really good. High production value. Like, yeah, really fun. Alex, thank you again for coming back on the show. Anything you would like to promote?
I have YouTube and Twitch. I'm trying to do the sort of video thing right now. And so you can find me at Gerald Plays. Gerald being like a Star Wars gamer tag that I think I started using it around the time of like Battlefront 1 on like 2015. And then I used it in my KOTOR playthroughs and things like that. So yeah, I have a book on the making of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic that came out in 2019. And I'm kind of in that looking for work phase of life right now. So, like and subscribe, folks. Like and subscribe.
Also highly recommend. Yeah. We got to get you on to talk Star Wars games sometimes too. So.
Oh, yeah.
Well, cool. Awesome having you guys back. Check out our stuff at flashback64.com. Thanks to Lee, Traverse Tier patron. Check out all the other shows on the Soundstone Network at soundstone.network. McKenna, great job.
Great job, Pooh.
We did it. See you next time when we talk about F1 World Grand Prix. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, we are Kirby Conversations, a podcast on Kirby along with adjacent subjects like Smash Brothers, HAL Laboratory, and other related Nintendo games.
In each episode, we take an in-depth look at a new Kirby topic, drawing on our decades of experience with the series. I'm Sean Douglas. I'm a writer and podcaster with a background in video game and theater journalism.
And I'm Gigi, the editor-in-chief of Kirby and a big Kirby fan from Brazil. I translate Kirby interviews from Japanese to English and research a bunch of obscure Kirby media.
And I'm Bridget, a longtime fan, commentator, fan artist, and Kirby collector.
Join us for a mix of commentary and original reporting, deep dives into Kirby history, interviews with industry professionals, and more, as together we explore all things Kirby and HAL Laboratory. We're a proud part of the Soundstone Podcast Network, and you can find Kirby Conversations on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.